1 in 10 stalkers, driven by a twisted fixation, will escalate their harassment to acts of extreme violence. A chilling statistic that underpins the darkest corners of human obsession, where desire curdles into destruction. Tonight, we delve into a narrative that dissects the anatomy of such a fixation. A story from the pulsating heart of a bustling metropolis, where the mundane rhythms of daily life were shattered by an obsession that crossed every conceivable limit, leaving an indelible stain on the fabric of trust and safety. This isn't just a crime. It's a profound psychological unraveling, a testament to how the human mind, when warped by unrequited longing, can become a crucible for unimaginable darkness. Our story begins in the vibrant, sprawling city of Hyderabad, a place where ancient traditions blend seamlessly with burgeoning modernity. The year is 2025, and amidst the relentless hum of progress, a seemingly innocuous love story was brewing, or so it appeared on the surface. Meet Riya Sharma, a brilliant and ambitious software engineer, whose effervescent spirit and sharp intellect illuminated every room she entered. She was an individual who epitomized the modern Indian woman. Independent, self-sufficient, and with a clear vision for her future, a future she was meticulously building with each line of code she wrote and every professional milestone she achieved. Her days were a blur of project deadlines, team meetings, and the occasional evenings spent with friends, discussing everything from the latest tech innovations to the city's burgeoning culinary scene. In her orbit was Vikram Reddy, a colleague from a different department, whose professional path often intersected with Riya's. Vikram was, by all accounts, an affable young man, perhaps a little reserved, but consistently polite. He harbored a quiet admiration for Riya, an admiration that, in its nascent stages, was entirely unremarkable. Their interactions were initially confined to work-related discussions, brief exchanges in the office cafeteria, or polite nods in the hallway. There was nothing to suggest the terrifying trajectory this acquaintance would soon take. It was a gradual, almost imperceptible shift, a subtle darkening of the edges of a seemingly innocent connection, much like a shadow extending imperceptibly as the sun begins its descent. The first signs of Vikram's deepening fascination were subtle, easily dismissed as gestures of friendship or professional courtesy. He would offer to help Riya with tasks, volunteer to stay late if she was working, or simply linger a little longer when their paths crossed. These actions initially were appreciated. Riya, like many, often found herself navigating the demanding landscape of a high-pressure career, and a helping hand was always welcome. She saw Vikram as a kind, if somewhat persistent, colleague. There was a genuine, open-heartedness in her approach, characteristic of her trusting nature. She believed in the inherent goodness of people, a belief that would tragically be exploited. However, the frequency and intensity of these interactions began to escalate. Vikram started sending Riya late-night messages, ostensibly about work, but often veering into personal inquiries. He began appearing at places he knew Riya frequented, like her regular coffee shop or the park where she often went for a morning jog. These coincidences initially made Riya pause, but she brushed them off, attributing them to the limited social circles that often form within corporate environments. The human mind, in its self-preservation, often seeks rational explanations for irrational occurrences, a psychological defense mechanism that can sometimes blind us to impending danger. One evening, after a particularly arduous day at work, Riya found Vikram waiting for her outside her apartment building. He claimed he was just passing by and wanted to ensure she got home safely. The gesture, while overtly solicitous, carried an unsettling undertone. Riya thanked him, but a flicker of discomfort ignited within her. This was no longer just a colleague. This was someone overstepping boundaries, subtly but persistently. She mentioned it to a close friend, laughing it off as Vikram being a bit much. But the seed of unease had been firmly planted. The narrative of a stalker often begins with these seemingly innocuous intrusions, a slow erosion of personal space and autonomy, disguised as care or concern. As weeks turned into months, Vikram's behavior transitioned from merely persistent to overtly intrusive. He began calling Riya multiple times a day, sometimes from unknown numbers, if she blocked his primary contact. His messages became more fervent, declaring his undying love and his belief that they were destined to be together. He started sending her unsolicited gifts, flowers, chocolates, small trinkets, which Rhea politely but firmly returned or simply discarded. Each rejected gesture, rather than deterring Vikram, seemed to fuel his conviction, twisting his perception of their relationship further. The psychology of obsession often dictates that rejection is not a deterrent but a challenge, a hurdle to overcome in the pursuit of the desired object. Rhea's patience, initially boundless, began to wear thin. She had, by this point, made it unequivocally clear that she did not reciprocate his feelings and wished for him to stop contacting her. She was polite, firm, and unambiguous. She spoke to their HR department, explaining the situation and requesting that Vikram be asked to maintain professional distance. HR intervened, counseling Vikram and reminding him of the company's strict policies against harassment. For a brief period, there was a lull. Rhea breathed a sigh of relief, hoping that the intervention had worked, that the professional reprimand had finally pierced through the fog of his obsession. This temporary cessation, however, was merely a tactical retreat, a deceptive pause before the storm gathered even greater intensity. The quiet, as it turned out, was merely a prelude to a more sinister chapter. Vikram, instead of receding, retreated into the shadows, his methods becoming more covert, more insidious. He began creating fake social media profiles, using them to monitor Rhea's online activity, commenting on her posts, and sending her anonymous messages that alluded to specific details of her life, details only someone observing her closely would know. This shift from overt to covert surveillance is a common escalation in stalking cases, reflecting a growing sense of entitlement and a desire to control. He knew her routines, her favorite spots, her friends, a chilling inventory of her life, meticulously catalogued. Rhea started experiencing an unnerving sense of being watched. Her apartment building, once a sanctuary, began to feel like a glass house. She would catch glimpses of a figure in the distance, quickly disappearing, or hear unfamiliar footsteps outside her door late at night. Her mail often contained strange, anonymous letters, filled with poetic declarations of love, mixed with thinly veiled threats against anyone who might come between them. The tone was possessive, territorial, and increasingly menacing. The vibrant hues of her independent life began to dull, replaced by a pervasive sense of dread. The psychological toll of being stalked is immense. It erodes one's sense of security, peace, and autonomy, forcing victims into a perpetual state of hypervigilance. The digital realm also became a battleground. Vikram's online harassment intensified, spreading to professional forums and networking sites where Rhea was active. He posted defamatory comments, fabricated stories about her character, and tried to undermine her professional reputation. This digital assault aimed not just to terrorize her, but to isolate her, to dismantle her support networks, and to exert a broader control over her public and private existence. Rhea reported these incidents to the cybercrime unit, providing evidence of the fake profiles and the escalating threats. The police, recognizing the gravity of the situation, initiated an investigation, but stalking, especially in its early stages, often proves challenging to prosecute decisively, requiring a pattern of persistent, unwelcome contact and a demonstrable threat. As the police began their preliminary inquiries, Vikram, seemingly unfazed by legal implications, began openly harassing Rhea's friends and family, attempting to coerce them into facilitating contact with her. He called her parents, spinning a narrative of victimhood, claiming Rhea was being unfair to him, that she was misled. He tried to turn her support system against her, a common tactic for stalkers who aim to isolate their victims. This broadens the scope of the victimhood, drawing in those closest to the primary target and creating a network of fear and anxiety. Rhea's once carefree life was now dominated by fear, constantly checking her surroundings, changing her routes, and installing additional security measures at her home. The vibrant, confident woman was slowly being eclipsed by a shadow of anxiety. The turning point, The moment the obsession truly crossed the Rubicon into overt danger occurred on a seemingly ordinary Tuesday evening. Ria was leaving her office, later than usual, having put in extra hours on a critical project. The city lights twinkled around her, a deceptive veil over the lurking threat. As she approached her car in the dimly lit parking garage, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Vikram. His face, usually placid, was contorted with a mixture of rage and desperate longing. He blocked her path, refusing to let her pass. His voice, usually soft, was now harsh, laced with a chilling intensity. He demanded to know why she was ignoring him, why she was doing this to him, framing her rejection as an act of cruelty against him. Ria, despite her fear, tried to maintain her composure. She firmly told him to leave her alone, reiterating her desire for no contact. But Vikram had gone beyond reason. He grabbed her arm, his grip surprisingly strong, attempting to force her into conversation, to make her understand his feelings. In that moment, the psychological fear materialized into a physical threat. Ria struggled, screaming for help, her voice echoing in the vast, empty space of the parking garage. This sudden public escalation was a dangerous step, a direct challenge to her physical autonomy and safety. Fortunately, a security guard on his rounds heard her cries and rushed to the scene. Seeing the approaching guard, Vikram released Ria and fled into the darkness, disappearing as quickly as he had appeared. Shaken but unharmed, Ria immediately reported the incident to the police. This time, with a clear act of physical harassment, the police had grounds for a stronger intervention. A formal complaint was filed, and a restraining order was sought. The legal machinery, often slow, began to grind into action, but the emotional scars of the encounter were immediate and profound. Ria's sense of safety was irrevocably shattered. Despite the restraining order, which legally prohibited Vikram from coming within a specified distance of Ria or contacting her, his obsession continued to fester and morph into something even more dangerous. The legal injunction, rather than acting as a deterrent, seemed to inflame his sense of injustice and entitlement. He began sending Ria packages containing disturbing objects, dead flowers, cryptic notes alluding to her being his, and even a small, crudely carved wooden doll, its eyes painted a stark, unsettling red. These were not mere trinkets. They were psychological weapons, designed to instill fear and to communicate an unwavering, terrifying presence. The police increased their patrols around Ria's apartment and workplace, but Vikram, cunning in his madness, found new avenues for his torment. He started showing up at her gym, at restaurants where he knew she had reservations, always keeping just enough distance to avoid immediate violation of the restraining order, yet close enough to make his presence known. He would stand across the street from her apartment, simply watching, a silent, menacing sentinel. This constant, pervasive surveillance was a psychological siege, designed to wear down Ria's resolve, to make her feel perpetually hunted and vulnerable. The legal framework, while providing a measure of protection, could not entirely dissipate the palpable sense of dread that now permeated Ria's every waking moment. The stress began to take a severe toll on Ria's physical and mental health. She suffered from insomnia, chronic anxiety, and developed a constant twitch, a visible manifestation of the relentless tension. Her work performance, once exemplary, began to suffer. Her vibrant personality was dimming under the weight of this relentless psychological assault. Her friends and family, witnessing her rapid decline, urged her to consider moving, to seek professional help, to do whatever it took to break free from the invisible chains Vikram had forged around her. The victim of stalking often feels a profound sense of helplessness, trapped in a nightmare from which there seems no escape. Forensic psychology offers critical insights into the mind of an obsessed stalker. Such individuals often exhibit traits of personality disorders, particularly narcissistic or antisocial tendencies. They possess a profound sense of entitlement, an inability to accept rejection, and a distorted perception of reality where their desires override the autonomy and safety of others. Their internal narrative is often one of victimhood. They believe they are the wronged party, that their target is denying them what is rightfully theirs. This cognitive distortion allows them to justify increasingly invasive and harmful behaviors, removing any sense of culpability or empathy. Vikram's actions were a textbook manifestation of this dangerous psychological profile, escalating from admiration to entitlement, then to coercion, and finally to outright terrorization. The investigative team, led by a seasoned officer named Inspector Arjun Singh, was meticulously building a case. They analyzed call records, digital footprints, and security camera footage. The challenge was to connect every seemingly disparate incident, every anonymous message, every fleeting glimpse, into a cohesive pattern of criminal behavior. Forensics played a crucial role. The anonymous letters were sent to the lab for handwriting analysis and fingerprinting. The crude wooden doll was examined for trace evidence. While each piece of evidence might seem minor in isolation, collectively, they painted a damning picture of a relentless, escalating campaign of terror. The digital forensics team was working tirelessly to trace the fake social media profiles and anonymous IP addresses used by Vikram, a laborious process given the sophistication of online anonymity tools. One evening, a critical breakthrough occurred. A forensic analyst discovered a unique digital signature embedded in the metadata of several anonymous messages sent to Ria, even those from seemingly untraceable IP addresses. This signature was linked to a specific, obscure software utility that Vikram had used in a previous professional project, a detail unearthed from his company's archived digital files during the HR investigation. It was a digital fingerprint, a tiny, almost invisible thread that tied him unequivocally to the anonymous harassment. This was the kind of intricate detail that often unlocks true crime cases, proving that even in the vastness of the digital world, every action leaves a trace. Armed with this irrefutable digital evidence, combined with witness testimonies from the parking garage incident and Vikram's repeated violations of the restraining order through his visible presence, the police obtained a warrant for his arrest. The net was tightening. Inspector Singh understood the urgency. The escalation of Vikram's behavior indicated a volatile psychological state, and the potential for a more serious crime was dangerously high. The pattern of stalking often culminates in violence if not intervened effectively. Vikram Reddy was apprehended at his apartment early one morning, caught completely off guard. He offered no resistance, appearing almost serene in his conviction that he had done nothing wrong. His detachment from the reality of his actions was chilling. During the interrogation, he remained largely unrepentant, expressing bewilderment at Ria's unreasonable refusal to acknowledge his love. He painted himself as the victim, a man whose sincere affections had been cruelly spurned, failing entirely to grasp the terror he had inflicted. This profound lack of empathy, coupled with his self-serving narrative, further solidified the assessment of his dangerous psychological state. The ensuing legal proceedings were complex. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence. The digital forensics linking Vikram to the online harassment, the explicit threats in the anonymous letters, the testimony of Ria and the security guard, and the police reports detailing his multiple violations of the restraining order. Ria, despite the immense emotional strain, bravely testified, recounting the relentless fear and psychological torment she had endured. Her courage in facing her tormentor in court was a powerful act of reclaiming her narrative and her autonomy. The defense, attempting to mitigate the charges, argued that Vikram's actions were driven by a genuine, albeit misguided, affection, and that he had no intent to cause harm. They tried to portray him as a lovesick individual who simply couldn't accept rejection. However, the systematic, pervasive, and escalating nature of his harassment, coupled with the clear threats and the physical incident in the parking garage, painted a far more sinister picture. The term obsession was no longer a poetic descriptor but a clinical diagnosis of a dangerous pathology. The court had to differentiate between unrequited love and criminal harassment, a distinction often blurred in the public perception but starkly clear in the legal framework. Expert witnesses, including forensic psychologists, testified about the severe psychological impact of stalking on victims, explaining how the constant fear and violation of personal space could lead to long-term trauma, anxiety disorders, and depression. They detailed the typical trajectory of stalker behavior, noting how Vikram's actions mirrored well-documented patterns of escalation that often culminate in violence. This expert testimony was crucial in educating the court about the gravity of stalking, moving beyond its often trivialized portrayal in popular culture. After a protracted trial, Vikram Reddy was found guilty on multiple counts of stalking, harassment, and violation of a restraining order. The judge, in delivering the verdict, emphasized the egregious nature of his actions, noting that his obsession had not only terrorized Rhea, but had also eroded her fundamental right to safety and peace of mind. The sentence was significant, reflecting the severe impact of his crimes and serving as a deterrent against similar acts. Justice, while not fully able to erase the trauma, offered a measure of vindication and a chance for Rhea to begin the long process of healing. In the aftermath, Rhea Sharma began the arduous journey of rebuilding her life. The fear did not vanish overnight, but with therapy, the unwavering support of her friends and family, and the knowledge that her tormentor was behind bars, she slowly started to reclaim her sense of self. She became an advocate for victims of stalking, sharing her story to raise awareness about the insidious nature of this crime and to encourage others to report it. Her experience, though harrowing, transformed her into a voice for the voiceless, demonstrating incredible resilience and a determination to ensure that no one else would suffer in silence. The case of Rhea Sharma and Vikram Reddy serves as a stark reminder of the thin line between admiration and obsession, and the profound, often devastating, consequences when that line is crossed. It underscores the critical importance of taking early signs of stalking seriously, for both individuals and the authorities. It highlights the power of forensic science and digital investigation in unmasking covert harassment, and the indispensable role of a robust legal system in protecting victims. This narrative, while concluding with a measure of justice, leaves us with lingering questions about the darker aspects of human psychology. What drives an individual to such a relentless, destructive pursuit? How do we, as a society, better identify and intervene in these dangerous escalations before they reach a point of no return? The answers are complex, interwoven with societal norms, mental health awareness, and the effectiveness of our protective mechanisms. The chilling truth is that while Vikram Reddy's obsession was brought to a halt, the underlying psychological forces that fueled it continue to exist, a latent threat in the shadows of human desire. And in this ever-evolving world, where digital footprints are ubiquitous and connections are both instant and intricate, the boundaries of personal space and safety are constantly being redefined, making vigilance and empathy more crucial than ever. The story of Rhea Sharma is not merely a crime patrol episode. It's a profound cautionary tale, echoing across time, reminding us that an obsession, unchecked, can truly cross all limits, forever altering the lives it touches. The story of Rhea Sharma is not merely a crime patrol episode. It's a profound cautionary tale, echoing across time, reminding us that an obsession, unchecked, can truly cross all limits, forever altering the lives it touches. Yet, beyond the courtroom's final gavel and the closure it attempts to provide, the ripples of such an event continue to expand, shaping not only the victim's future but also the broader societal response. For Rhea, the initial relief of Vikram's incarceration was quickly followed by a realization that healing was not a linear path. It was a labyrinth of triggers, flashbacks, and the slow, painstaking process of rebuilding trust in a world that had, for so long, felt inherently unsafe. She found solace in support groups, a community of individuals who understood the unique trauma of stalking, who could validate her experience without trivializing it. These spaces became crucibles for shared stories, strategies for coping, and most importantly, a reminder that she was not alone. Her advocacy took on a renewed vigor. Rhea understood that her individual victory against Vikram was just one battle in a much larger war against a crime that is often misunderstood, misreported, and underestimated. She collaborated with NGOs working on women's safety and digital security, lending her technical expertise to develop tools and resources for potential victims. She spearheaded initiatives to educate young people about healthy boundaries in relationships, about the dangers of digital harassment, and about the importance of consent are not just physical but emotional and psychological. Her voice, once silenced by fear, now resonated with conviction. Speaking at conferences, seminars, and workshops, tirelessly campaigning for stronger anti-stalking laws and better implementation of existing ones. The legal system, too, began to learn from cases like Ria's. Inspector Arjun Singh, who had led the investigation, became a vocal proponent for specialized training within the police force to better handle stalking complaints. He recognized that the traditional approach, often focused solely on physical violence, frequently overlooked the psychological torment and digital dimensions of stalking, which could be equally, if not more, destructive. He advocated for dedicated cyberstalking units and for clearer protocols for issuing and enforcing restraining orders, understanding that time was often of the essence in preventing escalation. His experience with Vikram Reddy underscored the need for a proactive rather than reactive stance, emphasizing early intervention and meticulous evidence collection, especially in the digital realm. This shift in legal and law enforcement perspectives was crucial. Historically, stalking cases were often dismissed as lovers' quarrels or overzealous romantic pursuits, diminishing the victim's experience and making it incredibly difficult to secure convictions. Ria's case, with its robust evidence and the severity of the sentence, helped dismantle these harmful stereotypes. It highlighted that stalking is a pattern of behavior designed to instill fear and control, irrespective of the perpetrator's stated affection. The legal precedent set, though specific to Ria's tormentor, sent a clear message. The digital landscape offered no anonymity for those who sought to terrorize, and psychological harm was as grievous as physical injury. The story also brought to light the critical role of corporate responsibility. The initial HR intervention at Ria's company, while well-intentioned, proved insufficient in stemming Vikram's escalating behavior. Post-trial, Ria's company, in conjunction with other tech giants in Hyderabad, revised its harassment policies, establishing clearer guidelines for reporting, swift disciplinary action, and robust support systems for employees experiencing such issues. They invested in workshops for managers and staff to recognize the early warning signs of stalking and provide guidance on how to respond. The aim was to create a corporate culture where harassment, in any form, was not tolerated and employees felt empowered and protected. However, the psychological forces that propelled Vikram Reddy into his destructive orbit remain a complex societal challenge. Forensic psychologists continue to research the origins of such obsessions. They explore the interplay of personality disorders, attachment issues, social isolation, and exposure to media narratives that romanticize persistent pursuit. The profile of a stalker is not monolithic, but common threads include a deep-seated inability to process rejection, a profound sense of entitlement, and a narcissistic worldview where their desires supersede the rights and autonomy of others. For Vikram, his conviction did little to alter this internal narrative. In prison, he reportedly continued to maintain his innocence, blaming Ria for his predicament, a testament to the entrenched nature of his cognitive distortions and lack of remorse. This unyielding self-justification is often a hallmark of severe personality disorders, making rehabilitation a complex and arduous process. The why behind such obsessions often defies easy answers, yet understanding the pathology is crucial for prevention and intervention. It's a societal mirror, reflecting our collective responsibility to foster environments where respect, consent, and healthy boundaries are paramount. It urges a reevaluation of how romantic narratives are consumed and propagated, challenging the notion that never giving up on someone, regardless of their unequivocal rejection, is a virtue rather than a potential pathway to harassment. In the digital age, this challenge is amplified. The very tools that connect us, that foster communities and facilitate communication, can also be weaponized. The blurring lines between public and private, the ease of access to personal information, and the anonymity offered by various platforms create fertile ground for digital stalking. This necessitates ongoing innovation in cybersecurity and digital forensics, as well as greater digital literacy among the general public. Everyone, from teenagers on social media to adults navigating professional networks, needs to be equipped with the knowledge and tools to protect their digital footprint and recognize the red flags of online harassment. Riya Sharma's journey, from victim to advocate, is a powerful testament to human resilience. She chose not to let her trauma define her, but rather to use her experience as a catalyst for change. Her relentless pursuit of justice and her unwavering commitment to supporting others have undoubtedly saved countless individuals from similar torment. Her story reminds us that even in the face of the darkest human obsessions, there is hope, there is justice, and there is the enduring power of the human spirit to reclaim its narrative and illuminate the path forward. The scars, both visible and invisible, from Vikram's obsession will forever be a part of Riya's life story. But they do not dictate her future. Instead, they serve as a powerful reminder of the importance of vigilance, empathy, and the unwavering pursuit of justice in a world where the shadows of obsession can lurk just beneath the surface of normalcy. Her voice, once filled with terror, now rings with authority, a beacon for those navigating the treacherous waters of unwanted attention, a testament to the fact that while darkness may descend, it does not have to consume. The ongoing vigilance, both personal and societal, is the only true shield against the silent, insidious creep of obsession that still holds the potential to cross all limits. The ongoing vigilance, both personal and societal, is the only true shield against the silent, insidious creep of obsession that still holds the potential to cross all limits. But what if this isn't an isolated incident? What if Riya's story, while unique in its specifics, is a chilling echo of countless others, forming a pattern that reveals deeper systemic vulnerabilities? Our exploration now pivots to the broader landscape of stalking, moving beyond the individual case to dissect its evolving nature, the challenges it poses to law enforcement, and the innovative countermeasures being developed in the fight against this insidious crime. The digital revolution, while connecting the world, has simultaneously birthed a new frontier for harassment: cyberstalking. Vikram Reddy's use of fake profiles and anonymous messages was merely a glimpse into the sophisticated arsenal available to modern stalkers. Today, perpetrators can leverage deepfake technology to create convincing but fabricated images and videos, exploit vulnerabilities in smart home devices to listen or watch their victims, or even weaponize GPS tracking to monitor every movement. The ease of access to personal data, often voluntarily shared online, provides a treasure trove for those with malicious intent. A seemingly innocuous selfie tagged at a restaurant can reveal a victim's routine. A shared holiday photo can pinpoint their location, and publicly available professional networks offer a goldmine of contacts. The anonymity of the internet often emboldens stalkers, stripping away the social inhibitions that might exist in face-to-face interactions. The psychological distance afforded by a screen allows them to detach from the human impact of their actions, viewing their victims less as individuals and more as objects of their fixation. This creates a parallel reality where the stalker's twisted narrative of love or grievance thrives, unchecked by external reality or consequences. For law enforcement, this presents monumental challenges. Tracing anonymous IP addresses across international borders, deciphering encrypted communications, and sifting through mountains of digital data requires highly specialized skills and resources that many traditional police forces are still struggling to acquire. Consider the complexity of forensic investigation in such cases. The digital footprint, while vast, can also be meticulously erased or manipulated. Cloud-based storage, VPNs, and anonymizing networks offer layers of protection for perpetrators, turning a simple case of online harassment into a labyrinthine pursuit across the digital ether. Inspector Arjun Singh's team, in Riya's case, had a breakthrough with a unique digital signature, but such clear-cut identifiers are often rare. More commonly, investigators face fragmented data, encrypted devices, and uncooperative tech companies, making the process akin to finding a needle in a global haystack. The legal frameworks, often slow to adapt, struggle to keep pace with the rapid evolution of technology, creating gaps in jurisdiction and definition that stalkers expertly exploit. Beyond the digital realm, the understanding of stalker typologies has deepened considerably. Forensic psychologists now categorize stalkers into several profiles, each with distinct motivations and risk factors. The rejected stalker, like Vikram, often pursues the victim after a perceived or actual breakup, fueled by a desire for reconciliation, revenge, or both. Then there are the resentful stalkers, driven by a sense of grievance or injustice, often targeting those they feel have wronged them. Intimacy-seeking stalkers yearn for a relationship with someone they admire, developing a delusional belief that the victim is in love with them. Incompetent stalkers, often socially awkward, simply don't understand normal social cues and boundaries, while predatory stalkers are the most dangerous, characterized by their covert surveillance and intention to assault. Each typology requires a different approach to risk assessment and intervention, highlighting the need for nuanced understanding among police, legal professionals, and support services. The impact on victims, regardless of the stalker's typology, is universally devastating. The constant hypervigilance, the erosion of personal space, and the feeling of being perpetually hunted lead to profound psychological trauma. Victims often develop PTSD, chronic anxiety, depression, and social isolation. Their careers suffer, their relationships strain, and their fundamental sense of safety is shattered. Many feel compelled to uproot their lives, change jobs, move homes, and alter their appearances, all to escape the relentless grip of their tormentor. The hidden costs of stalking, the lost productivity, the medical expenses, the legal fees, and the immeasurable human suffering are staggering, yet often remain unacknowledged in public discourse. Recognizing these pervasive challenges, various organizations and governmental bodies worldwide are now pushing for comprehensive anti-stalking strategies. These strategies emphasize a multifaceted approach, combining robust legal frameworks with advanced technological solutions, heightened public awareness, and comprehensive victim support. For instance, some jurisdictions are exploring stalking protection orders that can be issued even before a criminal offense has occurred, focusing on preventing escalation. These orders can impose restrictions on contact, mandate attendance at rehabilitation programs, and require electronic monitoring of high-risk offenders. Technological countermeasures are also rapidly evolving. Digital security firms are developing AI-powered tools that can detect patterns of online harassment, identify fake profiles, and even predict potential escalations based on analysis of communication content. Public awareness campaigns are educating individuals on how to digital detox, to audit their online presence, and to implement stronger privacy settings across all their platforms. The focus is shifting from simply reacting to stalking to proactively preventing it, equipping potential victims with the knowledge and tools to protect themselves in an increasingly interconnected world. Yet, despite these advancements, the human element remains paramount. The empathy and training of first responders, from police officers to HR managers, can make all the difference. Victims often report being dismissed or not taken seriously in the early stages of stalking, a critical period when intervention could prevent further escalation. Training programs are now emphasizing the importance of active listening, detailed documentation, and immediate action when a stalking complaint is made. They aim to dismantle the misconception that stalking is a minor crime, instead highlighting its potential to inflict profound psychological and physical harm. Furthermore, rehabilitation programs for convicted stalkers are gaining traction, albeit slowly. These programs, often drawing on cognitive behavioral therapy and psychoeducational approaches, aim to address the underlying psychological issues that fuel obsessive behaviors. They seek to challenge distorted thinking patterns, develop empathy, and teach healthy coping mechanisms for rejection or perceived injustice. However, as Vikram Reddy's continued lack of remorse in Prison illustrated, such deep-seated personality disorders are notoriously difficult to treat, underscoring the limitations of even the most advanced therapeutic interventions. The conversation is also broadening to include the role of societal narratives. Popular culture, through films, songs, and literature, sometimes inadvertently romanticizes persistent pursuit, portraying it as a sign of true love rather than a violation of boundaries. Challenging these narratives and promoting healthy relationship dynamics, built on respect, consent, and autonomy, is a long-term societal project. It requires critical media literacy, open discussions about boundaries, and an understanding that no means no, unequivocally and without exception. This cultural shift is perhaps the most fundamental and far-reaching step in creating a world less hospitable to the breeding ground of obsession. The story of Rhea Sharma, therefore, transcends her individual triumph. It serves as a microcosm for the larger, ongoing struggle against stalking in all its forms. Her courage ignited a spark, not just for justice in her case, but for a more robust, informed, and empathetic response to this global phenomenon. From the hallowed halls of law enforcement academies to the digital battlegrounds of cyberforensics labs, from victim support groups to legislative bodies, the lessons from her ordeal continue to resonate, fueling a collective resolve to understand, prevent, and prosecute the insidious crime of obsession. The fight is far from over. The digital landscape evolves with dizzying speed, presenting new vulnerabilities and new tools for those determined to exert control. The human mind, in its darkest corners, remains capable of profound and destructive fixations. But the vigilance, both personal and societal, has sharpened. The tools are becoming more sophisticated, the understanding more nuanced, and the collective voice of victims, once silenced, now rings with a clarity that demands attention. Rhea's story is a testament to the fact that even against the most relentless darkness, the light of resilience and justice can prevail, serving as a constant reminder of the urgent need for a world where personal safety and autonomy are not just ideals, but lived realities for all. This ongoing battle, a silent war waged in the shadows of everyday life, shapes not only individual destinies but the very fabric of our interconnected society, demanding an unyielding commitment to vigilance and protection. Now, as we navigate this complex terrain, another pressing question emerges. What role does the evolving landscape of artificial intelligence play in this intricate dance between stalker and victim? The very algorithms designed to personalize our online experience, to predict our desires and anticipate our needs, could, if misused, become powerful instruments in the hands of an obsessed individual. The data trails we leave, our preferences, our purchases, our locations are no longer just static records. They are dynamic datasets that AI can analyze to construct eerily accurate profiles of our lives, predicting our next moves, our vulnerabilities, and our relationships. This technological leap presents both unprecedented risks and potential solutions. For a stalker, AI could refine surveillance techniques to an alarming degree. Imagine an AI system trained on publicly available data, social media posts, news articles, property records, combined with more insidious methods like data breaches or dark web purchases. This AI could predict a victim's likely daily routine with pinpoint accuracy, identify their closest contacts, even analyze their emotional state based on digital communications. Such a system could orchestrate a campaign of harassment that is not only relentless but also hyper-personalized, hitting psychological pressure points with devastating precision. It could generate convincing deepfakes or manipulate voice recordings to sow discord among a victim's friends and family, isolating them even further. The anonymous messages sent by Vikram Reddy would pale in comparison to the AI-generated torment, indistinguishable from genuine content, tailored specifically to maximize fear and distress. Conversely, AI also holds immense promise as a shield against such threats. Security firms and law enforcement agencies are investing heavily in developing AI-powered detection systems that can identify patterns of stalking behavior far more rapidly and comprehensively than human analysts. These systems can sift through vast quantities of digital data, social media feeds, email archives, forum discussions, to flag suspicious activity, identify linked accounts, and even predict potential escalations. Imagine an AI monitoring online discussions for a specific individual, alerting them and authorities to any unusual or threatening mentions, or identifying a network of fake profiles attempting to engage in coordinated harassment. The unique digital signature that led to Vikram's arrest might become just one of hundreds of indicators an AI could detect across various platforms, building a robust case in minutes rather than months. However, the ethical implications of using AI in this context are profound. The same technology capable of protecting victims could, if mishandled, infringe on privacy rights, generate false positives, or even be exploited by malicious actors. Striking the right balance between surveillance for safety and protection of civil liberties is a delicate tightrope walk. Strict regulations, transparent oversight, and robust accountability mechanisms are essential to ensure that AI becomes a tool for justice, not another instrument of oppression. The development of explainable AI, XAI, where the reasoning behind an AI's decisions is clear and auditable, is crucial in this regard, preventing opaque judgments that could lead to wrongful accusations or unwarranted surveillance. The intersection of AI, forensics, and criminal psychology is creating entirely new subdisciplines. Digital forensic specialists are now working with AI engineers to develop algorithms that can effectively trace AI-generated content, differentiate between genuine and synthetic media, and identify the digital breadcrumbs left by sophisticated AI-powered harassment. Psychologists are studying the impact of AI-driven stalking on victims, understanding how hyper-personalized, persistent digital torment affects mental health, and developing new therapeutic approaches to address these unique forms of trauma. As Riya Sharma rebuilds her life, her advocacy extends to these new frontiers. She speaks about the importance of digital literacy, not just in basic cyber hygiene, but in understanding the power and pitfalls of emerging technologies like AI. She urges for ethical AI development, emphasizing that technology must always serve humanity, not become a weapon against it. Her journey highlights that the pursuit of justice is not a static destination but an ongoing adaptation to an ever-changing world, a continuous struggle to define and defend the boundaries of safety and autonomy in the face of evolving threats. The cautionary tale of Vikram Reddy, therefore, is not a relic of the past, but a harbinger of the future. It underscores that while the methods of obsession may change, adapting to every technological advancement, the human vulnerability to its insidious creep remains constant. The true battle lies not just in apprehending individual perpetrators, but in building resilient societies equipped to understand, predict, and ultimately prevent the abuse of technology and the darker impulses of the human mind. The ongoing dialogue between technological innovation, legal reform, and psychological understanding is paramount. Only through this holistic approach can we hope to fortify the shields against a silent enemy that, empowered by new tools, constantly seeks to cross all limits, forever altering the lives it touches and leaving an indelible stain on the fabric of our interconnected world. The vigilance must be absolute, the adaptation relentless, for the shadows of obsession are long, and they cast themselves over every new dawn of innovation. The vigilance must be absolute, the adaptation relentless, for the shadows of obsession are long, and they cast themselves over every new dawn of innovation. This ceaseless evolution demands that our defenses be equally dynamic, transforming from reactive measures to proactive shields, anticipating the next iteration of threat before it fully materializes. The future of combating stalking, particularly in an AI-driven landscape, is thus a race against a relentlessly inventive darkness, requiring unprecedented collaboration across sectors and disciplines. One of the most promising, yet challenging, frontiers is predictive analytics in law enforcement. Imagine AI systems, trained on anonymized data from thousands of stalking cases, communication patterns, digital footprints, behavioral escalations, that could flag individuals exhibiting high-risk indicators before a full-blown crisis erupts. These systems wouldn't replace human judgment but would act as invaluable early warning mechanisms, allowing authorities to intervene with counseling, monitoring, or legal measures at a nascent stage, potentially deflecting an obsession before it becomes destructive. Such proactive intervention could shift the paradigm from prosecuting crimes after the fact to preventing them altogether, saving countless individuals from the trauma Riya endured. However, the ethical minefield of predictive policing, especially when applied to personal liberty and privacy, is immense. Safeguards against bias, ensuring transparency in algorithms, and establishing clear thresholds for intervention are non-negotiable considerations, demanding a careful balance between public safety and individual rights. Furthermore, the legal landscape itself must continue to adapt with agility. Current laws, often designed for physical world interactions, struggle with the nuances of digital harassment and AI-powered coercion. Legislators are grappling with questions like, how do you define proximity, when a stalker can manipulate smart home devices from a continent away? How do you prove intent to harm when AI generates messages designed to look innocuous but deliver psychological blows? The concept of digital trespass and the legal protection of one's digital self are emerging areas of law, pushing for legislation that recognizes the comprehensive nature of online identity and autonomy. International cooperation is also becoming indispensable, as cyberstalking often transcends national borders, making traditional jurisdictional boundaries obsolete. A stalker in one country could torment a victim in another, necessitating harmonized laws and extradition treaties that specifically address digital harassment. The mental health aspect, both for victims and perpetrators, is equally critical. For survivors like Ria, ongoing psychological support is not a luxury but a necessity. The trauma of stalking is unique. It invades the very core of one's being, often leading to a profound sense of powerlessness and an altered perception of safety. Specialized therapy focusing on rebuilding trust, reclaiming personal space, and processing hypervigilance is essential. Moreover, there is a growing recognition that for some perpetrators, especially those with severe personality disorders or mental health issues, incarceration alone is not a cure. Investment in comprehensive rehabilitation programs within correctional facilities, even if challenging, is paramount to addressing the root causes of obsessive behavior and reducing recidivism upon release. These programs must move beyond punitive measures to therapeutic interventions that aim to rewire destructive cognitive patterns, however difficult that may be. The role of education also cannot be overstated. From school curricula to public awareness campaigns, there is an urgent need to foster digital literacy, critical thinking, and empathy. Young people must be taught about healthy relationships, consent in all forms, and the serious consequences of online harassment. Adults, too, need continuous education on managing their digital footprint, recognizing the red flags of stalking, and understanding the evolving technological threats. This includes awareness about sophisticated phishing attempts, social engineering tactics, and the potential misuse of personal data. Empowering individuals with knowledge transforms them from passive potential victims into active participants in their own protection, fostering a collective resilience against manipulation and control. Ria Sharma's journey, stretching from the terror of her ordeal to her tireless advocacy, continues to underscore these evolving challenges and solutions. Her voice, refined by experience and fueled by an unyielding spirit, resonates not just as a cautionary tale but as a blueprint for action. She champions the cause of creating a digital Bill of Rights, a framework that guarantees fundamental protections for individuals in the online space, including the right to privacy, the right to safety, and the right to freedom from digital harassment. Her work highlights that technology, while a double-edged sword, offers profound opportunities for empowerment and protection when wielded responsibly and ethically. The legacy of Vikram Reddy's obsession, therefore, extends beyond his prison cell. It has catalyzed a critical societal introspection, forcing us to confront the darker aspects of human connection in the digital age. It's a stark reminder that while the physical world has developed centuries of social norms and legal structures to govern interactions, the digital realm is still in its infancy, grappling with its own moral compass and rulebook. The unwavering commitment to vigilance, powered by cutting-edge technology, fortified by evolving legal frameworks, and grounded in a deeper understanding of human psychology, is not merely an aspiration. It is an imperative, a collective responsibility to ensure that the promise of an interconnected world does not become a new hunting ground for obsession, but a space where safety, respect, and autonomy truly thrive. This ongoing societal recalibration, sparked by individual stories like Ria's, is a testament to humanity's capacity to adapt, to learn, and to relentlessly pursue a future where the shadows of obsession are ultimately vanquished by the light of collective wisdom and unwavering justice.